Dune Part 2. Now, the weird thing about Dune for me is that I am very late to the Dune Part 1 party because I only saw Part 1 a couple weeks ago because I was so stubborn that I didn't want to have my first experience of a Dune movie to be on my Proxy TV or my Proxy computer or what have you. I like, hey, movie going experience is the best way to see a movie. I want to see it on the big screen. And I did. I saw on the Wii release, or the Wii issue as they call it, even though there was two people who couldn't shut the fuck up. Anyway, so, and I was on the play. I was like, give me part two. I need part two in my veins right now. And I just came back watching part two. And I will say this. I prefer part one over part two. But here's the thing. It's just like Dune 1 is a lot of people just sitting in a room talking. And it makes things riveted. And the deep of the authority. And the deep of that type of stuff. Part 2, you get a lot of that, and you dive into the world building, and you dive into like, you know, the I forgot the characters' names, but Paul Trees and his mother, going with these like the sand people, but the colonized of the north, and and diving into their world and the world building and that I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I was like, yeah, I'm diving into this. This is with the authority, the depth, and when it's people when it turns into this Game of Thrones in space, I when the Dune films is turns into that, I really dive into it. But when it does come into the big battles and the big action sequences, I went like it kind of felt like even though it's really well done and yes, there's a sense of goosebumps and you feel the emotional payoff and all these things as you bloody hell should. It does kind of turn into like, oh, science fiction I have seen before a little bit, just a tad. Where like, oh, the big sci-fi battle at the end, okay. Um, and when you're like, this movie is getting called the greatest sci-fi film ever made, and that's a lot of things. And for me, I'm like, I don't think it's that. But here's the thing, guys, before I criticize, this is a really good movie. This is really good. It's just I don't think it is as the creme of the creme as some people are going to say it is. So I think this movie is really well put together, really well placed in. I mean, the problem is like, normally like something like Metal Web, I can kind of just go and say, hey, there's this poem, this poem, this poem. This is the story. Here you go. But if you don't know what the story is, I don't really want to spoil it much. I don't want to say much of it for you guys. Um, like the chemistry is between the characters is great. The pacing, like this movie is nearly 3 hours long, and the pacing flies by pretty very quickly. It does feel at least 2 hours long. Um, you once again, the authority is great. The action sequences are really well put together. The newcomers, like Austin Butler's character and Forrest Pugh's character are really well additions to the cast and additions to the story. And of course, they hint to Dune Messiah. I think because like a couple of days ago, I didn't know where. I maybe checked what happens in Dune Messiah. I was like, okay, so we're going to be leaning over there. That's how it ends. Cool, awesome. Um, anyway, but yeah, I just think this is a really put together film, and it's really you can tell this is directed by a filmmaker or like a master of his craft, and it's going to be one of those things where it's like, well, that's going to be this is a better filmmaker I'm ever going to be kind of directors. Um, but yeah, I just like, hey, it's a really good movie, really great performances. Timothée Chalamet plays has a couple like like powerful moments where he's the leader of this, like he's the Messiah. You know, Paul Atreides is this Messiah character, and you feel his presence, and you feel like, yeah, I could buy him, winning a revolution, and that. Um, but yeah, this is a thumbs up. This is a thumbs up, a real thumbs up. It's just one of those things where you just go, yeah, part one's better. You know, good part one's a slightly bit better.